at least 1 year of post-secondary education and training. We know that earnings goes up as they, depending on their course of study and more education and training. And so therefore, our social policies should be aligned, since the goal of those policies should be poverty elimination or amelioration. Our goals should be aligned in that direction toward allowing more education and training. But it's tough. It's a tough environment to encourage that kind of alignment. I think there are good opportunities, and Mark talked about a few of them that do exist.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Mark, having been inside the belly of the beast here for a while in terms of the federal government, it was interesting to hear you talk about some of those possibilities for not only cross-institution, cross-agency, cross-federal agency collaboration, but also with localities and stuff. So, how optimistic do you, as you argue that really significant progress can be made there?
Yeah, I'm an optimist by nature, or I wouldn't be in the belly of the beast, I think. But I do see a need in some momentum on two fundamental levels. One is sort of on the policy level, and having a discussion here in class, for example, is helpful. I'm well aware I'm a political. I came with an expiration date. This is the end of the second term. We'll have a new administration coming in. Having some momentum sort of in the private sector to talk about this can help keep the momentum going and ensure there's some voice being able to say, hey, pay attention, think about this. And so having the momentum sort of on the policy level, I think is helpful in thinking through sort of the long game, right? The long-term discussion that has to happen. On the practice level on the college campus and what's going on, being able to, again, as CLASP has done with your project, to create a community of practice where you can exchange those important learning points on packaging Perkins loans with Medicaid, or how to braid the different federal funding streams and have it play with Pell. All of those important aspects, I think, are good and important to be able to keep going. In terms of what's the possibility of federal policy change? We have a policy approval process that can't really give you a real percentage on that, but just the fact that if it can bubble up through the different federal agencies, and I liked your idea of a landscape, being able to identify, what are some of the friction points in policy now? Where do they exist? Where do they appear to be in opposition to each other for this end result that we're looking for? So even being able to do that, I think, would be very helpful.
It seems like this report is practically there. I mean, you create maybe one more step to create a grid in your spare time. But that seemed like you were heading in sort of in that direction, and it seems like that could be the kind of thing that would make people go, really? So one more question, and I want to turn to the audience and have you all join the conversation. I guess when a couple of you were talking, there's a lot of talk about student aversion to debt, particularly in, I know it sort of tends to be at least stereotypically described as being strongest in Latino populations, et cetera. But is there similar aversion to public benefits? Because you made it sound, the idea that Sandy Baum thinks or you described it being a lot easier to apply for a student loan than for these benefit programs, which obviously is just insane. But how much from an aversion is there? How would you compare student views of debt versus being on public benefits?
I think that there is some complexity, obviously. I know when I started this work and having been in financial aid for a very long time, thinking that this was more difficult. I mean, financial aid things change every year, but this is a lot more difficult to learn and understand. But I think that the aversion is the sensitivity to the issues and helping students kind of think about that and kind of get past this stigma of applying public benefits. And that's where we started. And that's where our challenge was in the very beginning, because we knew that we had to think about ways to talk about public benefits that students didn't feel dehumanized in some way. We went through lots of training. We had some folks come in and do some sensitivity training with us. It's really important to know, though, as we went through and we thought it was really in ways of thinking about the sensitivity, is that the students said, just say SNAP. Just tell us what it is. We spent a lot of time trying to be politically correct in how we help students think about it, and the students thought about, let's just be very simplistic about it. But the ease of applying for a student loan versus the process of with the public benefits, and we try to, at our institution, keep most of the work on our campus. So the students do the pre-check on our campus, they can do the full application on our campus for our peer financial coaches, but at some point they gotta leave the campus and go to the county agencies and do some of that. We try to work with our county agencies to have them come on campus, but some of that, there's some transportation barriers in getting back and forth to some of those appointments, missing appointments. There's a 30-day window to complete the process, or they start all over. With those student loans, on the other end, you sit down, you do this entrance counseling, and you do the financial education about how you might use these student loans, and then you apply for it and you get it pretty quickly. But that's why the counseling is so important, and try to help students to balance that and see what really makes sense for them. I think the loans are the easiest part, but the hardest to maintain in the future, because they're not thinking about the future, about the repayment.
Of course, there's somebody out in the loan area, there's somebody who's interested in, on the other end, whereas for the lender side, so it's a.
Well, that's when it was lenders, but now it's all the U.S.
Well,
Department
right.
of Education.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. When there were lenders and there was some competition there, eliminating the competition is just helping students really better manage where they are.
Anybody else want to add anything on that? Questions from the audience?
With your use of the one-to-one coaches, I had two questions. One, it's a really great opportunity for sort of financial education touch about, there's such short-term pressing need to get some extra costs met, but you're taking on debt. Are you inserting that sort of as well into the conversation?
Absolutely. So beyond just the public benefits in terms of what we do for one-on-one, students actually have to meet with us one-on-one as they apply for loans. So when they apply for a student loan annually, they can just go through the regular process, which is they apply online, they can tell us how much they want to borrow. But as they want to increase their student loan, we do another one-on-one session with them. We tell them what their aggregate is. We discuss repayment in terms of, if you graduated today, here's your total amount you borrowed, here's your monthly estimate. And so we do a lot of that counseling around loans. But conversely, in that conversation, we help them think about, if you apply for this temporary assistance, you can reduce your student loan debt, because maybe you can get some housing assistance, utility assistance, and some of those things to kind of offset that. You don't need a student loan.
And when you talk about, so in your portal, so it's this college's portal for applying,
Yeah.
you're doing a quick check for benefits. Did you create that? Did you use something that existed?
We work with the Ohio Benefits Bank, and in some of our initial work with the Benefits Access for College Completion, they were really a partner in helping us to use their data in their portal, in the Benefits Access portal, to use that in our portal. So that's how we track where the students apply. They apply with us directly, but it's all the information from the Ohio Benefits Bank. But they were able to allow us to add that information and link to our portal for tracking purposes.
And I'd add the fact that most states now have the availability to apply for public benefits via portal. They all call it different names. Some of them do use a benefit bank. Others have their own established means of doing so. Has made this kind of work of applying at a CBO or applying at a community college that much easier. Where you run into some challenges is it might not, the process itself, the entire process might not be able to completely play out at the college. You might eventually have to go at the end of the day for an interview at the social services office. There is some, I would say, innovation in that area as well, of trying to do phone interviews or Skype interviews and that kind of thing to actually allow all of it to stay on a community college campus or at a CBO.
I recall that one of the advantages to having a center on a college campus is that public assistance recipients don't feel like they're public assistance recipients, that they're going to college and they're on a campus, and it becomes more the norm. The other advantage to the co-location is that students didn't have to go to they didn't have to take 6 buses to get to 3 different offices. That is a lot more convenient, all taken care of. And this particular center and others too have developed an online assessment that students in Washington, I think this was called Start Next Quarter, I don't know if they're still running it, where you answer a few questions and it says, okay, you could be eligible for this, this, and this, and check into that when you.
It sounds like sort of like the quick check.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah.
So, 2 questions. One would be, it's fairly straightforward. Is there any evidence, right, any research in the program that you mentioned, that students who get these benefits actually persist and complete more than similar students who don't take that type of service? So that's the first thing. The other thing is, you know, I get the sense this is coming from a good place, but at the same time, it seems like there could be this kind of weird situation where community colleges get the benefit of students not